1.
Welcome back to Ghost Party Entertainment. I'm your host, Kane Becker, and today I review the cult classic, Dark City. This is a fantastic movie, a movie that I wish way more people knew about. It does have a really strong cult following at this point, but it's been done dirty. Like, when it came out, it really just did not get received in theaters like I really believe it should have. And there's lots of reasons for it, but mostly it was just too weird for the crowd at the time. This movie has started to gain life once it reached DVD over the last 20 plus years because the fact that I feel like we as a society have kind of grown into this movie. At the time, it was so weird and bizarre, and not a lot of people were ready for that, I don't think. It was, like I said, ahead of its time. You can't watch this movie without thinking of The Matrix. I don't know for sure if The Matrix directly stole things from this movie or not, but the script and so many things of it are very reminiscent of this movie, which came out a year prior to The Matrix. He did use some of the set pieces on The Matrix from this movie, but I don't know if there was a deliberate trying to take ideas from this script or what, but there's a lot of similarities that I feel like there's no way you could watch this without being reminded of it. This movie in general has had a large impact, in my opinion, on movies. There's movies like Blade, and like I said, The Matrix, and lots of other movies that I feel like have directly been inspired by this movie. So the overall look of this movie is probably my favorite thing about it, because it's not just the look. The look kind of goes with the music and just really the overall energy and feel that this movie puts. But in my opinion, there's never been a movie that looks quite like this. It does that neo-noir taking from the 1940s, as well as stylized things from futuristic elements, Blade Runner, things along those lines, and it just melds them together in just this really beautiful way. I love everything about it, the way it looks, the costume, the lighting. I mean, the lighting alone is so stylized, and every scene has this specific lighting set up for that particular area and for that particular scene, and I think it's just amazing and beautiful to watch. The acting as well, I feel, is really strong on this, especially by our lead. And I know a lot of people have talked shit about Kiefer Sutherland and whatnot, but I just think he had a really interesting, quirky character. And I don't hate on it at all. I feel like it's just kind of part of the weird, quirky charm that this movie has. Awesome, interesting cast. They're interesting looking, and there are so many different looks. Everything from beauty to scary. Like, they're just a very interesting looking cast. And they all do a really great job, in my opinion. But I just love how the women look in this. They're just stunning. Classic 1940s look on them is just amazing. I've always loved that look so much in all films, and done in this way where it's kind of stylized and a little bit futuristic. I always loved that look, and this movie did that before a lot of other movies. The guy who plays Mr. Hand does an amazing job, and he is just so damn creepy in this movie. For most of the movie, you just feel like, okay, this is mostly a sci-fi movie, but then there's elements with him that are just so horror and just terrifying looking. Just the way he looks and talks and carries himself, it just has a very Hellraiser, creepy feel about it. All the creepy characters, everything throughout this movie is fascinating to me and it is so stylized. So the basic premise of this movie is that our lead character wakes up with amnesia and is accused of murder and has to figure out what is really going on. This movie in a lot of ways really reminded me of the classic movie Metropolis, which is another movie that if you're a film buff and love sci-fi and horror and stuff, you should definitely go and check it out. It's an old classic movie that I believe was done in Germany. It's a silent film, but it's just has its own really complex, layered, interesting story. But it is a movie that's just, for sci-fi and horror fans, it's definitely something you should check out. I find it so fascinating to see the clocks throughout the whole movie that in my opinion represent time, and how time is kind of irrelevant in this world. It's very much that that neo-noir mystery mixed with sci-fi future, and I love how they do it in this one. There's just such a weird, unique charm about this movie to me that I just absolutely love it, and it definitely is one of my favorite movies, especially as far as cult movies go. And there's really an overall Lovecraftian feel about this movie as well, and I love Lovecraftian things. I mean, like right now, one of my favorite shows is Lovecraft Country, but I love I love Lovecraft. No, I mean, I just love Lovecraftian stuff so much. It just has this really creepy feel to me that is actually one of the things that does creep me out. Not a lot of things do creep me out, but there's something about when Lovecraftian things are done right, they just really, there's just this unsettling feel about them that is just so interesting to me. So I originally saw this movie when it was released in theaters in 1998. And then I just got this Blu-ray, which I was super stoked. Anybody that follows me on social media, which I'm on Facebook, Instagram, anyone who follows me saw me post a picture holding the DVD. It's actually right here. And I was just so stoked to find this at a Goodwill for just a couple bucks. And it's just a movie I've loved forever. And I have the DVD, but I do not have the Blu-ray that has the director's cut. So I was really excited to get to do the comparison. There's definitely some differences, but I feel like the overall difference makes it really worth watching the director's cut if you can, and if you haven't seen it. There's a few things in general, like the beginning makes a big difference to me, because in the director's cut, there's no narration, whereas in the theatrical cut, it had this narration to open the movie. But there's a lot of things that are subtly different, but it overall changes just the feel of the movie in general. And most of it was done because, you know how it works, the suits, they wanted to make sure that us, the audience, because we're idiots, could follow along with this movie. And it's frustrating because if you watch the director's cut, you see how it should have been. And the director was leaving it into our hands as the viewers to understand the story and follow the story. And I don't think you'll have any problems following the story with the way that he intended it. They were just doing that whole like holding your hand type of bullshit that I find so frustrating. Us, the audience, are not idiots. We can understand movies, believe it or not. But, you know, time and time again, they don't give us what we would really actually, in a perfect world, actually enjoy more and let us actually see the art the way it's meant to be. So I highly recommend getting the director's cut if you can. But that's going to be it for this review. I definitely recommend this movie strongly. It is really one of my favorites. Thanks for watching, and please crush that like button. Remember, horror can be fun, and I will see you next time.